Okay, good day, great souls, and welcome back to another session. Essentially, what would be happening in this session, boys and girls, we'll be talking about the exponential function, and then we can move on to our inverses, and then we should be done with the topic function and inverses, and we'll be left with one topic, that being trig. Now, boys and girls, with the exponential function, I want us to start first by looking at our diving straight in. I want us to look at I want us to look straight at our equation. Y is equal to a multiplied by b to the power of x plus p plus q. And this is where, as I've written here, b is always positive and b cannot equal to, b is more than 0, but it cannot equal to 1. Okay? Perfect. That being said, boys, I want us to dissect this formula. I want us to look at what each component represents, okay? So first we're going to start with the A. And as we know, A has been our friend and A has always been determining the shape of the graph, okay? And in an exponential graph, boys and girls, provided that A is positive, so provided that A is more than 0, or is a positive number, A would thus then result in the orientation of the graph being as such that the graph lies above the asymptote, and provided that A is negative and A is a negative number, this would thus then result in the orientation of the graph being such that the graph lies below the asymptote. Right? Alright. So, in essence, A represents the shape of the graph. If A is positive, above the asymptote. If A is negative, below the asymptote. And that being said, we then have to then look at the effects of P and Q. And we do have to then establish the following. So P and Q. Remember that P, boys and girls, in most of our functions, P has been shifting our graph horizontally. And if you can remember properly, if P was positive, we'd usually do the negative or like the opposite. So in this case, it's still the same. If P is more than 0, P is positive, then the graph is thus then moved P units to the left. So if P is 5, the graph has been shifted 5 units to the left. And if P, boys and girls, if P itself is a negative number or a negative integer, then the graph has been moved P units to the left. To the right, I guess. Apologies. So P is negative, we're moving to the right. P is positive, we're moving to the left. And we move P units. Okay. I want us to then look at the value or the influence of the Q value. And with regards to the Q value itself, the Q value influences the vertical shift of the graph. So the vertical shift basically refers to it's essentially moves the graph up and down, boys and girls, vertical shift. And Q at the same time represents the asymptote of the graph. Now it's an exponential graph, boys and girls. If you remember, a hyperbola had 2 asymptotes, an exponential has 1 asymptote. We'll deal with the asymptote just now. Now let's really focus on the effect of Q, because this will usually be asked to you. Now if Q is positive, the graph has been shifted up. If Q is negative, the graph has been shifted down. Quick recap. Effect of P. If P is positive, we've shifted P units to the left. If P is negative, we've shifted P units to the right. The value of or the influence of Q. If Q is positive, the graph has been shifted above or it has been shifted up. And if Q is negative, the graph has been shifted down. Now that being said, I want us to then look at the asymptote of the exponential function. Remember, the exponential function has 1 asymptote, and that is your horizontal asymptote, that being y is equal to q. Thus, let's move on to quickly the domain and the range of our exponential function. As you guys can see, this truly is a quick and easy lesson. And I want to emphasize this before we even move forward. Know the theory before you attempt the questions, because if you don't know your theory, you're only killing yourself. You're only demotivating yourself further. You're only making yourself believe that you can't do maths, and that's not the case. If we basically get a grasp of the theory, we're basically then better able to understand the work and attempt questions. Okay. Now, the domain. The domain of the exponential graph, boys and girls, is given to us as x is an element of the reals. That being said, let's move on to the range. The range seems to be a bit complicated, but it's not. So for the range, if our a value is positive, the range will be y is an element of from q not included to positive infinity round bracket. So if a is positive, y is an element of from q to positive infinity, no square brackets, no inclusion brackets. And if a is less than 0, if a is less than 0, then what happens? If a is less than 0, then y is an element of from negative infinity to q not included. In this case, we do not include it because q is an asymptote. That's why you might ask me, why aren't we including q? We're not including q in this case for the range because q is an asymptote. Now I want us to quickly refresh ourselves with regards to sketching the exponential function, boys and girls. There are 4 easy steps to sketching an exponential function. So the first thing you would do is you draw the asymptote. And remember, when drawing your asymptote in your function, your asymptote would be described as y is equal to q. From there on, we then determine x and y intercepts and plot our points. After plotting our points, we'd calculate the coordinates of the 2 random points. So put in any random number, to help you shape the graph, and then from there on you draw the graph and remember your labels. Simple, straightforward. So I'm just quickly gonna work through this these 2 questions with you guys, and then from there on we should be able to move forward. Okay. Question 1.1, boys and girls. Question 1.1 basically deals with the asymptote. Write down the equation of the asymptote, and we said that the asymptote is y is equal to q, and in this case y is equal to -4. And then question 1.2 proceeds to talk to us about coordinates of the y-intercept. Y-intercept make x equal to 0, and if that is said, y coordinates make x equal to 0. Well, what's called again? One second, boys and girls. I'm almost done. 2 minutes. You can wait. 2 minutes. What's it called again? Let me just quickly push this question. Question 1.2. Y-intercept make x equal to 0, and if you put that into your calculator, that would give you -4. That would give you -3. So therefore, we'd have 0, -3. Question 1.3 quickly. Question 1.3 asks us to calculate, boys and girls. Question 1.3 asks us to calculate. What does it ask us to calculate? It says the x-intercept. The x-intercept make y equal to 0. So therefore, 0 is equal to 2x minus 4. So therefore, we'd have 4 is equal to 2x, and then 2 squared. Remember, boys and girls, when the bases are the same, you drop your exponents. So as such, let me just quickly correct this. As such, 2 is equal to x, and your coordinates are 2, 0 for your x-intercept. From there on, boys and girls, question 1.4, it asks us to sketch the graph indicating our asymptotes. Now, the first thing we're going to do is look at the shape. A is positive, so we will be above the asymptote, and then we just sketch. Perfect. Let me just quickly sketch this graph for us. 1 second, boys and girls. There we go. Almost there. Okay, so we said our asymptote is -4. Let me just quickly get it done. So we don't really care about whether, what's it called again? We don't really care about whether your graph is drawn to scale. All we care about is whether the image makes sense. So there we go. So y is equal to -4 is the asymptote. And we said that a is positive, so we're above. And then we just quickly plot our x-intercept and our y-intercept. Our x-intercept is 2, 0. And our y-intercept is, so it's 2, 0. And our y-intercept is -3, 0, 0, -3. So this is 0, -3. And essentially this is the shape of our graph, boys and girls, as it nears that point, goes up, comes down. There we go. Question 1.5, determine the range. The range, we said that if a is positive, we'll be following y as an element of q to positive infinity, q to positive infinity. And in such a case, y is an element of, what's our q value? -4 to positive infinity. -4 to positive infinity. Question 1.6, the second last question, asks us, oh, it's actually the last question. It asks us, boys and girls, to describe the transformation from h to g. Remember, h of x is given to us as 2x minus 4. So what happened? We can see that we've moved to what's called let's first deal with the q value. The q value has changed from 1 to -4, so from 1 to -4, so we've minused 5. So they shifted 5 units down. Shift 5 units down. And then we see that we have a negative x. So if we have a negative x, we can say that, what can we say? If we have a negative x, we can tell that the graph has what? What can we say about the graph, boys and girls, if we have a negative x? Because you get your mark here, 1 mark, get your mark here, 1 mark, get your mark here, which is a mark, 2 marks, 2 marks, and then we're done. But essentially, boys and girls, what does the question then imply? So let me just quickly give you your marks here. You get a mark for shape, a mark for your x-intercepts and your y-intercepts, as well as your asymptotes. That being said, I want us to then look at question 1. Apologies. I want us to look at question 1.6. Yes, it says, describe the transformation. So what happens when x is negative? Remember, we said that we usually, when we have a negative, how can we write this again? We can write this again as +1. What happens? Do we say that the graph has been inverted, it's been shifted? Let's see what the memo says, boys and girls. In such a case, the memo says, apologies again. In such a case, the memo says, let's quickly see what the memo says on how to describe this. Okay, so this is our, is this our function? 1 second. Apologies, boys and girls, again. There we go. So shift. So, okay. It's been reflected about the y-axis and shifted 5. Reflected about the y-axis and shifted 5. Perfect. Shifted 5. And let's just quickly add it here. Reflected about y-axis. I want you to make a note that if we have a negative, for example, if we have a b to the negative x versus a b to the x, I want you to just write down that this one has been reflected. Make a note about the y-axis. I apologize for not knowing that. Not that I didn't know that, but anyways, I couldn't answer the question. My mind just went blank. Happens to us because we're human. Don't be stupid and try to get smart with me. Anyways, we've got this, and it says essentially we'll be sketching, determining the equation of an exponential function. Now, when determining the equation of an exponential function, boys and girls, you want to determine firstly the equation of the asymptote that will be given to you. We have one asymptote. You'll then find the value of q and substitute it into the formula. And you'll be given another point that lies on the graph. And I want you to take that point, the xy, plug it in and solve for a, and rewrite your question or your answer in y is equal to a multiplied by b, x plus p plus q. I will repeat again. Find your asymptote, obtain the q value. Substitute q value into your standard form as well as the point that's been given on the graph. Solve for a, write in standard form. Let's quickly just do this. Question 4.1. I'm trying to keep the videos as short as possible, boys and girls. Hence, I tend to be in such a... It seems like I'm in a rush. But do let me know whether you want me to stop rushing. So it says, sketch below is a graph. So we see the asymptote is -3. So the value of m, we can already tell, is -3. And we see it says, determine the values of m and b. We're given here 2 points passing through. So we can see 0.10, which is an x-intercept, and a y-intercept. We already see. Okay, so we can already just say that m is equal to -3 already, because m is equal to q, so -3, and then b, we just have to solve for b. So we're given y is equal to, or f of x is equal to b to the x plus m. What we'll do then is, let's use 1 point, let's use 0.10. So x is 1, so b1 plus, -3, because m is -3, and 0, and 3 is equal to b to the 1, so therefore b, the value of b is actually 3. Perfect. So get a mark here, it's 3 marks. And then from there on, question 4.2 proceeds to tell us, write down the range of f. The range of f. Remember, a is positive, so therefore y is an element of, from q round bracket to positive infinity round bracket. So therefore y is an element of, from q. What's the q value? Your q value in this case would be -3 and up to positive infinity. Perfect. And the last question, boys and girls, question 4.3, and then we're done with functions, and I'll just be doing past papers, for which values of x or f of x is equal -26 over 9. So -26 over 9, for which values of x. So what's f of x? Remember our equation for f of x is, so -26 over 9 is equal to, what's our b value? Our b value is 3 to the power of x minus 3, because that's our m value. So now what we do is we just plug this into our calculator and we would solve. So -26 divided by 9, just quickly going to use my phone's calculator. -26 divided by 9, right, plus 3 is 0.111111, is essentially, what I'll do is I'll add 3 on both sides, add 3. So I don't have a calculator currently with myself, hence I won't properly get to the answer. But anyways, that being said, -26 over 9 plus 3 is equal to 3x. So what I'll do is essentially simplify, multiply by 9, and when I simplify, I'll get -26 over 9 plus 18, 27, excuse me, plus 27, because 9 times 3 is 27, which is equal to 3 with x. That being said, we then have a third, right? We'd have, excuse me, not even a third. We'd have a 9th is equal to 3 over x. But we know that 1 over 3 squared is the same thing as 1/9. And when we take this to the top, x is equal to -2. I've still got it, boys and girls. Mental math, boys and girls. So x is equal to -2. There you get your mark, 3 marks. And that's it, boys and girls. So you guys have seen how I apply my work, how I'm able to approach these questions. What I'll do is I'll upload more questions. Now from now on, what we're going to do is I'm going to upload a video. We're going to do inverses. And this is grade 12 work. After that, what we're going to do is we're just going to be dealing with past papers. And in our past paper quiz sections, I'm going to also upload for functions and number patterns, sequences, and series, as well as I'm going to be uploading for functions. Okay, boys and girls, all the best with your work. You guys have got this, and I'm wishing you all the best. And yeah, God bless, guys, and just work hard, and God will do the rest. Cheers.